right-centered. Ooh. Hello everyone. Welcome to EVTN News. I guess I have my glasses on so you can see everything that I can see. um, let's see how that reflects. Anyway, okay. So I just a word before I get started. This past weekend I had a little bit of a sickness. Not a little bit. It was wasn't fun. And I'm still recovering, so hopefully I don't need any water breaks or cough drop breaks, but they're there in case I need them. I learned from the last time. So we'll see how long I can last. I'm feeling better than I did the last few days though. So that's positive. And unfortunately, I had some friends who are moving away, and there was a going away party for them on Sunday, and I missed it because I was sick. And so I just wanted to see if any of you have ever missed anything because you were sick like that. Very, very disappointing, actually. But still, you can't avoid these things, and sometimes it happens. So just let me know. Have you ever missed anything because you were sick? Feel free to comment on that. All right, so let's just jump right in. I think the first story is my headline story, so I'll start with that. Mrs. Joe Bailey Wells, Wells, 58, mother of two and former ice hockey player who is employed as an Anglican bishop and Deputy Secretary General of the Anglican Communion, so she's a fake bishop. She addressed Francis's Council of Cardinals on February 5th. Wells campaigned for so-called gender equality, a euphemism for feminism indoctrination and gender ideology, although the Cardinals session dealt with the role of women in the church. Because she is a mother of two and former ice hockey players, that makes her fully qualified to lecture Catholic clergy on the role of women in a church she doesn't belong to. All right. Besides Wells, another speaker was Salesian sister Linda Pocher, a teacher of Christology and Mariology in Rome. Remember that name. She's going to she's going to be in another news story on this list. So file that name away. However, let's talk about Wells for a second here. This is pretty unprecedented. So we can't learn from the heretics. Catholic doctrine is pretty clear on that. Tradition is clear on that, and pretty much every pope until this one has said that, we can't learn from the heretics. We can learn what not to do, but that's what we can learn. That's the only thing we can learn from the heretics is what not to do. This fake Anglican bishop, well, she is. I guess if she's the mother of two, she would presumably be married to a man, I would expect. But who knows, because it is Anglicans. Why was she even invited? Like, what? Why was she invited? This is not Catholic. Like, this has nothing to do with Catholicism. But then they're asking non-Catholic women to talk to the Council of Cardinals. It doesn't matter though, because Francis makes all decisions. He just has he has the Council of Cardinals. The Council of Cardinals listed as basically the people that what would I say? A facade, I guess, an illusion. It gives them an illusion of a democratic sort of system. Because Francis makes all decisions, but he tries to pretend like the Cardinals do stuff. Okay, so this woman campaigned for gender equality. Great. And she wasn't even Catholic. As you'll see, actually, you'll even see more of these characters show up. Francis is surrounding himself with non-Catholics. mostly feminists. And that's going to be a concerning trend, and I'll talk about that at the end. Thank you for joining the live stream. Okay. So the Lord's just a quick comment on this. So Bishop Jean-Marc Mikos of the Diocese of Tarbes in Lourdes, France, has said he hopes to decide by spring on the option of removing artwork by Father Marco Rupnik. So there's artwork in his, by Rupnik in his diocese, and he'll decide by the spring. What do you think about that? Why not just decide now? I mean, you don't have to remove it immediately. You should remove it soon, but I'm sure there are plenty of traditional volunteers who would help you remove it very quickly once you make that decision. It's really not a hard decision because you know some of the things that Rupnik did while he was painting his artwork. I'm not even going to talk about it because this video would get banned from YouTube if I talked about it. So, what's so hard about the decision? Come on. It's crazy. But maybe he doesn't want to make Francis angry. Okay. So that's pathetic. Archbishop John Wester of Santa Fe, New Mexico, praised recently Biden's newly appointed climate diplomat John Podesta for listening to religious leaders on February 2nd in an article featured in Earthbeat, an environment-focused extension of left-wing propaganda outlet, National Catholic Distorter. Okay. So Podesta, was he quoted? Praised? Okay. Podesta previously served as a climate counselor for former President Obama. Earthbeat noted that Podesta previously promoted environmental policies as President Bill Clinton's chief of staff and later chaired Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. During his time as chairman of Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016, WikiLeaks released a large number of confidential emails from Podesta. The emails, among other things, appeared to show that Podesta was significantly involved in undermining the teaching of the U.S. CCB and convincing U.S. Catholics to vote for Democratic candidate despite her open pro-abortion stand. And I believe he was also involved in satanic ritual, as the emails disclose. That was particularly, particularly shocking from what I've read. That was the highlight that really disgusted me out of all of this. So, and Archbishop John Wester is, he's what do I call him? Archvirus Bishop. Archvirus Bishop Wester. He's the one that said home is the holy place, and he refused to open up his churches despite the Democrat governor saying that he could. So he was very much into the virus, very much into LMNOP. Pretty terrible bishop, if you ask me, but no one's asking. But anyway, John Podesta, pretty despicable character actually, and he's praised by John Wester. No surprise. Some of these bishops, you really wonder if they believe in the Catholic faith. What percentage of U.S. bishops believe in the Catholic faith? They accept the doctrines of the Catholic faith. Which percentage do you think? I'm sure it's less than 100. I'm certain of that. Okay. Pope Francis said in an interview with Don Vincenzo Vitali, he said, "I do not bless LMNOP marriage." So he was responding to his critics. He said, "I bless two people who love each other. And I also ask them to pray for me. Always in confessions when these situations arrive, LMNOP people, remarried people, I always pray and bless. The blessing should not be denied to anyone. Everyone. Be careful. I'm talking about people, those who are capable of receiving baptism. He never makes sense. The most serious sins, adds the Pope, are those that disguise themselves with a more angelic appearance. No one is scandalized if I give my blessing to an entrepreneur who perhaps exploits people, and this is a very serious sin, while he gets scandalized if I give it to a LMNOP. This is hypocrisy. We must all respect each other. Everyone, the heart of the document is hospitality, but he's inhospitable, never hesitates to criticize traditional Catholics or even conservative Catholics, Novus Ordo conservatives. He never hesitates to criticize young priests who believe in the doctrines of the faith. And this is just disgusting because he said he blesses two people who love each other. So, LMNOPs who are in an unrepentant state of mortal sin, he'd give them a blessing. Of course, he doesn't bless a marriage. No one is saying that. Literally, no one is saying he's blessing LMNOP marriage. And that's what these modernists are trying to swing it. Oh, it's not marriage. Well, no, it's not. You're blessing sin. It doesn't matter. Because it wouldn't be a valid marriage anyway, even if Pope Francis said it was. As far as comparing to an entrepreneur who exploits people, he's not. Is he blessing an entrepreneur who cheated on his wife and has his new lady friend, and he wants a blessing? Is he going to give them a blessing? No, I guess, yeah, he wants them to receive communion. That's fine, right? He already said that in Amoris Laetitia. This is, Francis completely gone off the rails, and I try not to quote him very much in my stories, but every now and again, it's like, it's I don't know. So okay, the entrepreneur. There's a possibility that he exploits people, but there's a LMNOP couple who are living in sin, a public unrepentant state of mortal sin, a sin that cries out to heaven for vengeance, and that's fine. It's the same thing. So okay. Okay. Yeah. There is. Are you guys on Twitter? If you are on Twitter, I think the guy's name is Michael Haynes, Haynes, from LifeSite News. He just asked a question to someone from the Pontifical Academy for Death, who's a member of the World Economic Forum, and he asked her about her stance against life, and she threw it back in his face and didn't answer the question at all, didn't really address it, just kind of threw it right back in his face. But he asked the question, it was pretty good. Anyway, Francis has appointed Catalin Carico, a U.S. Hungarian biochemist, as a member of the Pontifical Academy for Death. She was awarded the Useless Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2023 for her research on mRNA jabs. Yikes. What did the research show? Or did it show what she was paid to show? This is what we're going for, though. We're going for death. We're going for anti-Catholicism. Pontifical Academy for Death. Really, if you get a Catholic Pope in, he needs to shut it all down. Pretty much put everyone in the Vatican on notice. I mean, this is really a disaster that needs cleaned up. Absolute catastrophe. Italian theologian and religious Linda Poncher. All right, so going back to the first story. This was the one where the fake Anglican lay woman who pretends to be a bishop, or well, I guess she would be called she poses as a bishop with invalid orders. Anyway, the other person mentioned in the story who addressed the C9 was Salesian Sister Linda Poncher. So she was interviewed after her lecture or whatever she said to the Cardinals. Um, so Italian theologian, of course, with quotes. Any theologian that's addressing the Vatican, mm, probably pretty questionable. Anyway, she has confirmed that Pope Francis is in favor of the diaconate of women. As reported by the Spanish portal Religion Digital on Friday, the Pope is very much in favor of the diaconate for women, according to the Don Bosco sister who teaches Christology and Mariology in Rome. Poncher, who had already attended the previous meeting of the Council of Cardinals in December, explained that the head of the church wanted to rethink and reorganize the relationship between the sacramental priesthood and the priesthood of the priesthood of all the faithful by extending some rights that until recently were reserved to bishops, priests, and religious to all the baptized. So, okay, this isn't like this is speculation. Of course, she said it was true, and Pope Francis, until he corrects it or denounces it, then I would assume that she is correct. We have to take her by her word. It's charitable, right? It's charitable to presume that these people are telling the truth, isn't it? And so until Pope Francis issues a correction or um, anything, then we have to take her at her word and be charitable and assume that she's telling the truth. So I think that this something will happen before, and this is just me. So this isn't doctrine. I mean, I'm not a prophet, but you can see I feel like I have a decent feel for the way that the modernists are moving. And so I think they're going to try to, with the speed, with the speed, I guess, with the speed that they release the LMNOP blessings document. I don't know if that's the right word, but anyway, they released it much earlier than I expected, and a lot of people much earlier than a lot of people expected. They expected probably something to come out like that after this October synod, but it was released in December, I believe. And I think they're going to have something about women's, some kind of, it's going to be like pseudo women deacons, sort of like women deacons. I expect that before this October. So it's February right now, so within the next 8 months, I expect that to come out, probably within the next like 4 or 5, honestly. So it's not going to be women deacons. It's not going to be ordained women, at least, right at first. That's obviously the goal. That's sort of, I think Taylor Marshall had like a checklist where they wanted married priests. It was like kind of going down the list, right? Married priests, ordained women, married women priests, and then married LMNOP priests. I don't know if I missed a step or not, but it's kind of like going checking off the boxes. So in order to get women deacons, they have to ease it in, just like they did everything else. Communion in the hand. They already started with the altar girls. I believe that was under JP2. And altar girls have been condemned by several popes. So that was a real that was a real problem, I guess I could say, to put it lightly. But they already have altar girls in the Novus Ordo. Then, of course, women Eucharistic ministers, but communion in the hand sort of allows everyone to touch the Eucharist, so it doesn't matter. But I think that sort of desensitizes everyone's it forces them to shift. So like I don't know how to even do this. Um, like you keep pushing and saying like, all right, I'm gonna draw my line here, but then your line shifts further and further because it's like altar girls. Oh, okay, I'm gonna move it. I'm gonna draw my line at this. I'm gonna draw my line at like lay people touching the Eucharist, or like I'm gonna draw my line at like the lady touching the Eucharist, and the Vatican says, well, communion in the hand, you can receive communion in the hand. The early church did that, and the apostles had communion in the hand. Okay, and so you shift your line, and then they say, well, I don't want women serving at the altar. Like, well, there are girls. There's no altar boys today, so we can have altar girls too. All right, and then you just shifted your line again, and then female lectors, and it's just all compromise at this point. Except, what can women not do at mass? Well, they can't consecrate the Eucharist. Um, they usually don't stand beside the priest during the prayers of consecration, and they can't read the gospel or preach a sermon. Now, I think what the Vatican's probably going to try is knocking out some of those things and not calling it an ordination, but doing some kind of instituted ministry, right? Like the ministry of electors, or they already allowed women to receive the instituted ministry of lector, and Francis created this fake category of instituted ministries called the catechist. It's like minor orders, but then he's letting women into that sort of as sort of a gateway towards women's ordination. And so I don't really, I mean, I'm getting into the mind of a modernist here, so I don't, I mean, I can't be certain with the prediction, but I would expect to see something along those lines. So where they could give a women's, and it might just be a generic lay person instituted ministry open to all lay people. Of course, it's going to be women. I mean, there might be a few men that jump in, but they already let all married men into the diaconates as long as they pay for the college, which is such a scam. I mean, really, you're paying like 30,000 a year for these garbage like pseudo Catholic university courses, and your liturgies on Vatican II, and like, what a scam. I mean, you can. Sorry, sorry to say it. Although I'm not really sorry to say it, because it's the truth. But really, they let these men in, and the men, they're really supposed to, they're why the men who are ordained to like the so-called permanent diaconate, their wives are part of the ceremony, which would presume that they're going to live as brother and sister. Now, I'm not tracking any of that. Like, I'm not going to, but is that something that they are aware of? I don't know. And then you could even really be a priest, right? Especially for the men that do this that are possibly at retirement age. I mean, yeah, they've got nothing else to do, so I'm not saying that they don't. They may have families, but they could still be ordained a priest. If you're living as brother and sister with your wife, there's nothing stopping them. St. Peter was married at one point. Of course, he left his, or he, I don't want to say left his wife, but he was called to the higher calling, and his wife was taken care of by the community, presumably. Yeah. So anyway, with this ministry, I think they're going to create some new ministry, and possibly they could probably they'll probably have them stand by the altar during the consecration. They'll probably have them like do sacraments like baptism, but then because anyone can baptize, and of course, well, deacons I believe can like witness marriages. I believe they can like direct a marriage ceremony. I don't know if that's just a Novus Ordo requirement or if that's I don't know if that's the case in the old rite. I don't know. Of course, I wouldn't want a deacon witnessing a marriage, but it might be better because they can't do the mass, and if you're doing the Novus Ordo, you want it as short as possible. Anyway, um, yeah, so that's the case, and then also reading and giving the homily. So that might be part of this so-called instituted ministry is giving the homily, and I think they might also have this ministry like instituted as like part of a like so that they can lead like a communion service, a so-called communion service. I think that's where they're going to go with this. Now, obviously, there are a lot of possibilities, and some. I mean, of course, it's some may or may not happen, but yeah, that's what I think. Okay, last story is another Latin Mass crushed. Very sad day for the Diocese of Austin, Texas. The Vatican has taken away our traditional Latin Mass at the cathedral. This is from Twitter. Nearly 1,000 disappointed parishioners, 1,000, and a vital, dynamic ministry of the church devastated. Well, the cathedral is going to get a lot less money, so congratulations to Bishop Joe Vasquez, who is currently covering for Strickland's former diocese as they await a new Francis bishop. So you get what you ask for, and he's going to get a lot less money. So that's what it is. Okay, getting to the comments here. LMNOP people are so funny. Women need to be baking cookies. Permanent deacons are on an ego trip. All we need is a few more instituted ministries. Yeah. So anyway, let me know your thoughts about this women deacons thing or the instituted ministries, because it seems as though they're on the fast track to that. And if it doesn't happen before October, it'll happen right after. It'll be part of the synod. It's been part of the plan. It's been part of Cardinal Martini's plan. He's dead. But he's had this plan for a long time to undermine Catholic teaching. And yeah, that's it. Okay, so until next time, this has been EVTN News. Thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.